Hello and welcome to the Drive-Thru. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
And this week we'll be discussing the episode No Turning Back. This episode originally aired April 23rd, 2007, and would be the final episode that would actually air on Fox. So, how mad are you knowing that this is the final episode that was actually aired on television, Dave?
Mm,
It's a good thing they didn't end on a cliffhanger, right?
mm, just with a couple particular things that did kind of happen, it's not exactly the best. It probably could have been worse. If it was definitely the case of the last episode with the particular screen counting down, it'd probably be more niffed. With this one, though, I'm mostly just concerned, especially with how many story beats that they have within this one, that it's just kind of the case of, I'd really like to see where they wanted to go with this.
Yes, well, we do have two more episodes, but they took a little while to actually be available to the public. So this episode attracted 4.6 million viewers. Number one movie in America this week. It hasn't changed. It's Disturbia, again.
Yeah, but this one's only been weekish or so with the dates.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And number one song in America this week. This has changed.
Ooh. Hmm. This one, April. Hmm. Nothing within my mind at around that time. Hmm.
It is a song called Give It To Me by Timbaland featuring Nelly Furtado and Justin Timberlake. I know all of those names, but I do not know anything about them.
Yeah. Again, with that, it's understandable, I suppose. Just trying to specifically remember the song, it might get muddled in with a whole bunch of other songs, because, again, song titles, really simple and can get meshed in with about 372 other ones if they're common words.
Alrighty. Now for video games this week. We got a release of Bionicle Heroes on Wii. Which, I know what Bionicle is, kind of. I do not know what this game is, but it didn't review amazingly.
It's understandable. Again, I got caught into the craze. I caught inkling of it. But again, in my case, I only scratched the surface, but ooh man, if you wanted to take a deep dive at it, it would be one heck of a ride.
No, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, in your case, I could understand.
There was also the Fast and the Furious game, which was released for PlayStation Portable,
Eh,
which I'm only going to assume was probably not very good.
well, on the one hand, I suppose you can also have racing games on a portable device. Mario Kart always works, and people like the realistic racers.
Yeah,
But then, of course, with Fast and Furious, that might dive a little bit more into the more driving, possibly crashing into things.
and they've
I haven't
never.
specifically watched the movies, but I know that there is racing and there is some smashing.
There are definitely both of those things, but they've also never made a good Fast and the Furious game. Like they've all been at best mediocre.
Possibly because they only really dived into the racing aspect and never really dived into the supposed story that the Fast and Furious movies had at some point. I know that the later ones did. I'm not sure how it was at the start.
I've seen the first few, and I don't know how you'd turn them into a good video game. Anyway, moving right along. The other game
Yes.
that released around this time was The Lord of the Rings Online.
On the one hand, I'm not surprised, but then on the other, I would not expect that within my mind. Though, again, aside from the movies and a game or two, it's nothing I've really dived into.
Well, no, and this was during like the World of Warcraft craze, so it made sense to release this then.
That's true. That's true.
Because when did WoW come out?
Ooh, WoW would have been around in the thousands or 2000s, I believe, when it first got the boot out. Or that might have been when the expansion first got out.
Oh no, 2004. So it had been out for like 2.5 years at this point.
Okay, so yeah, it was still somewhat a phenomenon.
Yes, it was still massive at this point. And finally, this is a game I've never heard of, but I kind of want to play, even though I'm sure it's terrible. It is terrible according to IGN. It's a game called
Mm-hmm.
Made Man. It's a third person.
Made as in making a thing, or made as in the particular job?
No, no, made as in like Made Man in the Mafia.
Oh, I see. Hmm.
It's a third person shooter developed by some UK company. It's set in New York, and you work for the Mafia, and it's apparently terrible, and I kind of want to play it.
Interesting.
And apparently, it got a North American release, and it scored a 2.4 out of 10 on IGN.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't want to buy this game now. How much is it on eBay? I'm gonna take a quick look. Um, I want the cheapest one because I don't want to pay a lot for. Is this? Oh no, that's shipping from UK. That'll be the UK version. I need an American, like a Canadian version. Ooh, do I want to pay that much for it? Do I
Is
want to
it
pay?
fairly bad for the shipping, or
It's free shipping, but it's like $14 for the game. I'm buying it. Fuck it.
what do we say about diving down particular rabbit holes?
It's always a good time, and I never regret it.
Haha. Yes, until you do regret it, and who knows when that happens.
Oh, it's being shipped from Red Deer, so it won't even take that long to get here. I would hope. PayPal's taking a minute. Give me a second. I am not a robot, I promise. That's something a robot would say, though.
That's what someone would program a robot to say.
That's true.
The thing isn't the question itself, it's the particular concept of the question that gets to them.
There, I have successfully purchased it, so maybe I'll review it next week on the show. Just because it sounds like a terrible game, and I love terrible games. Anyway, in this episode, Alex and Karina are offered a chance to move ahead of the other racers because they were the most improved from the previous leg of the race. Karina is unsure of how safe the move would be because there is some kind of challenge attached to it. Susan and Lee wish to stay in the race even after their betrayal by each other. Wendy fears for her baby's safety, and Susan and Lee are eliminated from the race. So Susan and Lee, they're the two black ladies, and the one, I don't know if she's Susan or Lee, but she thinks that God is talking to her, and I'm like, oh, so you're crazy.
Susan. And come on, Paul, we need to be respectful. She's very religious.
No, she crazy. She hears voices. That's not sane.
Then she supposedly needs to have a discussion with a doctor.
Yes, she does. She is hearing voices. That is not something that somebody who is well does. Okay, well,
Nevertheless, I was very happily surprised and mildly intrigued that this pair was still left within the race in a certain respect.
well,
And again, it makes sense. They had the information to get there and figured might as well go and get to that particular spot. I think the one biggest surprise is that the fact that, well, no, I guess not. The fact that the coordinator guy they all spoke to was there, but again, he's there to pick up the phone since they're not in the race anymore.
yeah. He's kind of just like, all right, I need my phone back. Which is pretty good. So Alex and Karina recruit the, what are their names now? It's Winston and Sean. They recruit Winston and Sean to help them with a bank robbery.
The brothers.
Yes, the brothers Salazar. To rob this bank, they need to get something that's in a safety deposit box in this brand new vault in this like small town in, I think they're in Kentucky, maybe. I don't remember what state we're in.
Sweetwater, if I remember the signs right.
Yeah, okay. Maybe. I'm trying to see. It doesn't. It's not listed on the route on Wikipedia. I think it's Kentucky. We'll say it's Kentucky. So they go in. Winston is like, let's just go in guns blazing. And then his brother's like, nah, y'all are dumb. We're going to go in at night and I'm going to hack some computers using things that seem totally legitimate. And we're going to get the password and we're going to just like sneak in and sneak out.
Push the buttons, open the door, get the thing, get out.
Yeah, unfortunately, a security guard spots them, pulls his gun on them. Sean ends up tackling him, but gets shot in the. Um, uh, uh,
It was around in the abdomen or.
yes, he gets shot in the scuffle, and is seriously wounded. Alex is driving them all back to. He finds like a motel on the side of the road. He tells them check in, pay for cash, don't open the box until I get back. And he's like, I'm going to find someone to take care of Sean. And then drives off, and that's where the episode ends. We also get Susan and Lee, who get in a car accident where a truck like repeatedly rams them. So there's probably more to that coming.
Yeah.
We believe that, I think it's Susan that we're supposed to think is dead. Is that who it is? I can't remember.
Susan is the one that passes within this one. The other driver, Lilith, I believe it was, still has the phone and continuing on, getting hitchhike to continue on.
And she's got like all this blood on her and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good episode. What did you think?
This turned out pretty good, again, with all the particular concepts that came up with the story and whatnot. One particular one relating to what we were talking about with the two African American ladies that were driving along, more so with the couple that were having a bit of a spat. Again, with their whole story, she doesn't want him to go off to war because she doesn't want him to die, but he's concerned because not getting this information and not hearing word about one of his friends dying leads him to find out that he abandoned his service call and, oh man, he's going to get charges for all these particular sorts of things. So takes the phone for the race and throws it out the window. And it turns out that the African American pair pick up the phone and they're back in the race.
Yeah, I didn't mention the Rob and Ellie thing because I just don't care about them.
Yeah, I'm not
just
exactly sure
I just don't
it's a
care
case
about the
of
story.
they've cut them out of the story with their particular thing, or if it would just be a side story now. But interesting with their side of the story bleeding into another side of it, and it's interesting sort of thing that they threw in with this one.
Yeah. I just wish that they were completely cut out of the show at this point because I'm like, I just don't care. Get me to the more interesting stuff is like Alex and Karina and the Salazar brothers. Like that's the interesting stuff. Why am I wasting time with this bickering couple that I don't care about?
Mm-hmm. In that sort of case. And aside from that, it gets to the mom with her concern for the baby and her passenger, Wendy and Ivy, that
Yes.
she gets a call within the story that something is supposedly happening around her son, where there's people coming around asking for her son, all that sort of concern. So, motherly concern. She spins her vehicle around and heads in the other direction. And gives some interesting detail to her passenger Ivy for why she's not included or how she could easily get eliminated with the story of, yeah, she can't drive. She's in this particular race, but she can't drive herself.
But like, okay, she's driving like. So Wendy has like I'm gonna guess like a early to mid 2000s like Dodge Caravan.
Mm-hmm.
It's an automatic. This doesn't take a whole lot of like it's not like you have to shift or anything. Like you just it's not that difficult.
In a case of difficulty, the real trouble comes in when you get pulled over by someone and they ask you for your license.
Yeah, but okay, but like
You can't drive and she probably doesn't have it.
no, like I understand that, but like okay, hypothetically, Dave, if she just drove, stayed in her lane, and like did the speed limit, nobody would ever pull her over, unless she did something stupid.
I suppose, but this is Ivy that we're talking about, and we've already seen her pull out a gun I believe 2 times now
At least twice,
for
yeah.
running into particular issues with that.
You make a
And
solid point, yeah.
and not having really too much concern. I had the particular joke in my head of saying that Ivy was almost related to you, but in that case, it's the case of you actually have a brain, so you're smart enough to know not to do that stuff stupid.
Nobody can ever prove that I have pulled a gun on anyone. There are no witnesses.
uh,
Alrighty, did you have anything else about this episode there, Dave?
hmm, I think the only one other thing is just with the father-daughter couple, there wasn't too much from them with this episode, aside from a little bit of lying and the occasional meetup with them. They didn't really get too much involved within this story. I'm still interested to see how it will still continue on, but I can somewhat understand that you'd prefer to have more focus on the main characters group as well as some of the more interesting pairs that were within the story so far.
Yeah, I actually don't mind if they were to spend a little bit more time with like John and Violet because I think they're actually like they have a good dynamic and it's an easy way to add a little something a little more lighthearted to the show.
hmm I think the one other particular thing is just from the last episode heading into this episode, I noticed the opening credits a little bit more. Who was sort of shown off and all the particular things. And the one thought crossed my mind are, again, obviously, these are the big wigs that are in here have a name for themselves, but is it also the case that these kind of are more important characters and people to sort of watch out throughout the show for all the particular things? Since at the end of this episode, we've lost Susan, and who else are we supposedly going to be losing through this race?
Who knows?
hmm
Oh, there's one thing. It was actually in last week's episode, but I'm going to bring it up now. There's a scene where Alex is driving and he's like weaving in and out of traffic, and there are some shots where I'm just like, those two things did not happen at the same time because it's very clear that they've got a like they filmed him driving the car and then they've inserted it into another shot because it looks real janky.
Yeah, in those sorts of cases.
But
I
it's
also
also
think it's a case of they only had so much to kind of work with.
oh yeah.
They had the couple particular areas that they've driven at, but any specific highway shots, I'm thinking it's a case of they had one specific strip of highway and just everyone drive along the highway at this particular bit.
Oh yeah. No, like they're using like the same like 4 mile stretch of like highway in like Clarita. Like it's all shot like in the LA area. Yeah. No, they're yeah. So next week, you're lucky that this wasn't when it was airing, Dave, because the next episode didn't go online until July 15th. The next episode is called The Extra Mile. Alex, Corinna, and the Salazar brothers are forced to face the ramifications of their jumpstart. Ivy puts Sam in danger, and Lee gets a new partner. Or Lay, I don't know. Anyway, until next time, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
Very good.